You have just stumbled over a very important video. And that's because I've seen no one on the internet talk about this the way we're going to talk about it. So if you look up any sort of self-improvement advice on the internet about putting your life together, it all tells you kind of the exact same thing, which is essentialism. The idea that if you want a better life, you have to ruthlessly cut things out of it. If you want to get better at your job, you have to cut away all the distractions. If you're overwhelmed, you have to prioritize and delete what's not important. And we've all been told the same thing, that willpower or decision making is all a fixed thing, like a fuel tank that has the same capacity every day. And so to not waste any energy, you have to cut the things that drain you. So you start dressing like Steve Jobs every day so that you save a crumb of decision-making energy. But what if I told you that this entire philosophy is just wrong? It's a lie. It's a big lie. It's a lie. What if trying to artificially shrink your life actually leads to massive psychological denial, more decision fatigue, and an atrophied brain? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why essentialism is a lie and why leaning into complexity is the only way to actually put your life together. And for reference, this is the book that inspired this video, but I'm actually not trying to shit on this book because I do think there's some truth to it that can definitely help people. But in this video, I'm trying to talk about how you may be influenced to think, if you're an essentialist, that is going to lead you down the wrong path. So basically what essentialism indirectly proposes and how it leads to the negative impact on yourself. Number one, the anti-fragility of the body. So when you become a strict essentialist, you are making a dangerous assumption. You are telling yourself, my cognitive load can never get bigger. My resistance to making choices is fixed, is permanent, is low. And doing this, you're protecting yourself from the messiness of life. You're kind of doing the exact opposite of what human biology wants you to do. And there's this concept called anti-fragility that is coined by Nassim Taleb. I'm sure you heard of it. It's basically about how fragile objects break under stress. So for example, a glass of water. Then a robust object resists under stress, so that would be rubber maybe. But an anti-fragile object grows under stress because it's adaptable, and those are the human bodies. And just think about lifting weights, it's the most obvious example. If you want to build strong muscles, you lift heavier and heavier weight, right? You do progressive overload with your muscles. And your brain operates in the same way. When you try to sanitize your life and cut out every moving aspect of it, you become incredibly fragile. Your mentality is way too rigid to adapt to the whole complexity of life. And the moment a minor thing happens, an unpredictable movement happens in your life, you simply break. Because the truth is, your willpower and your cognitive load is not a fixed thing. It's not the fixed gas tank we were talking about earlier. And there's been several studies, and you know about it, that, brain is plastic and it's an adaptive muscle. And when you take on heavier load, more complex load, your brain goes through cognitive hypertrophy. So, the brain grows, it becomes juicy. And that's why decision fatigue can actually get better every day if you work on this sort of decision-making muscle. If every day you take a tiny bit more decisions and more complex ones, you're going to just get better at making decisions. Number two is the fact that essentialism forces you into deep denial. So in psychology, and actually in therapy, I think, there's a framework that's called Gestalt and psychodynamic integration. And it's basically about how true mental health doesn't come from running away from parts of your reality, it comes from integrating them. So when somebody tells you when you're overwhelmed and they tell you just cut things out, just simplify, what they're actually telling you to do is to compartmentalize. What it's actually doing is it's making you pretend that you don't have difficult stuff happening in your life. You don't have a messy financial situation. You don't have a hidden ambition that you want it to work out. You don't have a relationship that you maybe have to work on, right? They don't fit into your schedule. You have to do that which is urgent. There's the urgency trap here. And on paper, your life looks more clean, but in reality, you're just neglecting everything that's happening to you. Because guess what? All the things that you are neglecting, that you cut out, they don't disappear. They sit there in the background of your mind, they run like heavy background music that you don't like, and they drain your battery anyway. Trying to force a complex reality into a tiny compartment, a simplified box, creates massive disruption in the brain and a lot of internal friction. And that friction is the thing that causes burnout. It's not the fact that you have to work. The stability that you want happens when you stop all the running and you bring all the messy parts and you try to make them work like a puzzle. You look at them and you sincerely develop a plan on how to piece it all together. And number 3 is what Robert Keegan believed was the secret to human growth. So he is like a Harvard psychologist or something like that, and he created the profiles of the socialized mind and the self-authoring mind. And the socialized mind, basically people with that, they are ruled by their environment, they're easily overwhelmed, and they constantly try to please other people. But the people who truly put their lives together, they have the self-authoring mind, which is basically not hiding away from your responsibilities. It's getting there because of the sheer weight and complexity of your life that forces you to upgrade your internal operating system. And when you kind of stop trying to cut things out and you commit to handling it all, your career, your fitness goals, your relationships, your passions, you don't longer rely on messy and emotional day-to-day choices, because you're forced to build a system and routines that are high level, that work for all your goals and everything that you have to integrate. You start automating a lot of the boring stuff of your life and do those on autopilot, while leaving that which is important, your most powerful mental model. So in a sense, it's a lot about order. So once you have embraced the complexity of life, and once you committed to the amount of stuff you want to do, you can become an essentialist to a certain extent. You can make a list of priorities, so to say. But complexity is still the catalyst that forces you to grow, because you took up all of these responsibilities. So once again, if you are going to take up essentialism, but you're a person that doesn't embrace the complexity of life, and you treat yourself as a sort of like fragile little thing that will shatter if you have too many choices and too many responsibilities, then your world will shrink to fit your current limiting beliefs. And that does not sound to me like putting your life together. So literally just play the offense, guys. You don't have to wish for less stuff happening or a lighter load. You just need to build a stronger back. You just need to learn how to cope with all of the decisions you have to take in a day. First do that, and then try minimalism and trying to minimize everything. And if this resonated with you, I'm glad about that. I've really been enjoying reading about this stuff, because I myself kind of believed a lot about the theories around decisions fatigue and minimizing the decisions that you have to take in a day. To a certain extent, I think it's true. So probably Steve Jobs and his outfits do have a point. But what really inspired this video is that I listened to a Dr. K YouTube video in which he said that he basically figured out his life in a moment in which he decided to take on more responsibilities, and that he talked to a lot of people that had the same experience, right? And correlated to the fact that I received this book and I started reading a bit of it, I kind of see how this is a big insight, the fact that you have to embrace complexity. Anyways, goodbye.